Iran and China stressed that the non-binding draft resolution voted at the UN General Assembly hinder efforts to solve the crisis in Syria. Italy stresses that the diplomatic solution in Syria is the only way to end the crisis, as Slovakia refuses to support cancelling arms embargo for exporting weapons to Syria. Dozens of Iraqi victims fell as a result of a series of explosions which hit different parts of Iraq. To end the crisis. This stand was expressed by Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman Abbas Araghchi, who said that the sides that submitted the draft resolution should have focused, as it was expected, in light of the critical circumstances in the region, on condemning the recent Zionist aggression on Syria. Iranian National Security Council's Secretary Dr. Saeed Jalili has reiterated his country's call for a peaceful solution to the crisis in Syria and non-intervention in the country's internal affairs. In a press conference held in Istanbul today, Jalili said Iran's stand has been clear since the beginning of the crisis, rejecting military solutions based on violence. He called on all the Syrians to start a comprehensive national dialogue and cooperate for holding free elections. He stressed that all states should help Syria through providing the suitable ground for a government-people opposition partnership and the beginning of a comprehensive national dialogue. China has reiterated emphasis that a political solution is the only realistic way to solve the crisis in Syria. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Hong Li said China played a constructive role in solving the crisis in Syria politically, adding that the future of Syria should be determined by the Syrian people. Hong said his country had expressed concern over some parts of the Qatari draft resolution that was submitted to the UN General Assembly and consequently called on the sponsoring states to take into consideration the viewpoints of all concerned parties. Hong said China was ready to exert joint efforts with the international community to find a political solution to the crisis in Syria. As 59 states abstained and 12 others voted against, the draft resolution submitted at the UN General Assembly was passed with the approval of 107 states. Syria's permanent representative to the UN, Dr. Bashar al-Jafari, said this draft resolution completely contradicted the title of the article under which it was included. He added that it was an attempt to illegally recognize a certain part of the external opposition, despite the fact that this self-divided part did not even represent the opposition itself. Al-Jafari said, whenever the possibility of a peaceful solution to the crisis in Syria shone in the horizon, the terrorist operations would be accelerated, and so would the steps taken by some states to thwart such tendency. Jafari asked if the Qatari Saudi petrodollar corrupt militias stand has eliminated the Arab League credibility and the prestige of its Secretary General as well as that of al-Ibrahimi, would the UN member countries allow the infection of corruption to move to the UN as well? Al-Jafari affirmed that the greater majority of Syrians reject violence and chaos and support a rapid peaceful solution to the crisis that protects their right to live and to security, stability and justice and safeguard their country's resources. He called on the opposition, who reject dialogue, to put aside personal grudges, reject the implementation of foreign agendas and proceed to get involved in national dialogue. Italy is in favor of a diplomatic solution as the only way to solve the crisis in Syria. The Italian stand was expressed by Foreign Minister Emma Bonino during a joint hearing session before the Parliament's and Senate's Defense Committees in Rome. Bonino said there was a chance for a diplomatic solution to the crisis in Syria through the convention of a Geneva II conference. Russia and the USA had agreed to support a political solution to the crisis during the visit paid by the American Secretary of State to Moscow last week. The Russian and American sides called for an international conference on Syria to promote the principles of the Geneva Statement reached last June. Slovakia has joined Austria in rejecting the armament of the terrorist gangs in Syria by the European Union. The Slovak Foreign Ministry refused any step to support the cancellation of the EU embargo imposed on exporting weapons to Syria. Slovak Foreign Ministry spokesman Boris Gandel said his country believed in giving priority to a peaceful solution to the crisis in Syria through dialogue and negotiations, as there was an ample opportunity for the UN to play a role in this respect. Our armed forces continued to chase different terrorist groups in Damascus suburbs as an army unit killed a leader of a terrorist group nicknamed Abu al-Yaman of a non-Syrian nationality during an operation in eastern Al-Ghouta. The army also destroyed a rocket launcher and a 23mm artillery cannon. As part of their heroic efforts to chase armed terrorist groups in Dara, army units intercepted an attack launched by an armed group on a military checkpoint near Al-Kirik and Al-Ihrak in Dara countryside. The army inflicted heavy losses upon the terrorists, killing dozens of them and destroying their vehicles and weapons. In Homs and its countryside, our army units targeted a gathering of terrorists in Televisión, Ad-Dar al-Kabira, Al-Ghanto and Kisin, inflicting heavy losses upon them and destroying their criminal equipment. Meanwhile, the army clashed with armed groups in Wadi Sayh, Babhoud and Al-Qarabis, killing dozens of them. Our armed forces aborted an attempt by terrorists to infiltrate into an area near Al-Amal hospital in Jurat al-Shayyah, killing and wounding scores of them. In occupied Palestine, Israeli occupation authorities imposed tougher measures on the 65th anniversary of al-Nakba, violating the sanctity of holy sites. Dozens of settlers broke into public squares of Al-Aqsa Mosque from Bab al-Maghariba, supported by armored vehicles, and conducted a provocative tour inside the mosque. Israeli authorities imposed aggressive measures against Palestinian worshippers inside Al-Aqsa Mosque. In Turkey, in the wake of Rihaniya explosions along the Syrian-Turkish borders, authorities arrested 4 individuals believed to be associated with the explosions, which killed more than 50 people and caused widespread material damages. News reports pointed out that Turkish prosecutors referred 8 suspects to a court in Adana city who were interrogated, and 4 of them were released later. Thus, the number of suspects arrested in connection with Rihaniya explosions has risen to 17. Finally, and in Iraq, 14 people were killed and 18 others wounded following 3 terrorist explosions which targeted popular markets in Baghdad. News reports pointed out that 2 booby-trapped cars exploded inside 2 markets in Al-Sadr city north of Baghdad, killing 11 people and injuring 18 others. A 3rd explosion targeted small market in Al-Kamaliya neighborhood, killing 3 people. Scores of victims also fell in a car bomb exploded near a police convoy in Al-Mosul city. Now over to latest business and market news, but after a short break. Welcome back. The manager of Fund Drought Effects at the Ministry of Agriculture asserted that the Directors Board approved to compensate 776 farmers from Homs Governorate. The manager also pointed out that the Directorates of Agriculture in the Governorates of Suwaida, Homs, Idlib and Hama are working to the damages and the losses that faced the farmers because of the cold, paving the way to discuss these problems in the next meeting of the Directors Board. The Director General for Sugar Establishment, Engineer Basil Hwest, asserted that the average daily production capacity for the yeast factory during April reached about 4,550 tons. Moreover, the director indicated that the two companies of Jisr al-Shughur and Tal Salhab are ready to receive sugar beet at the beginning of the 6th month. On the other hand, the Minister of Agriculture said that the sugar beet amount estimated at 400,000 tons. The American spot crude fell for the 5th time in 6 days amid signs of economic weakness in the US and Europe that threaten fuel demand. Futures slid as much as 0.8%. The US stocks rallied yesterday, sending the Standard & Poor's 500 to its 9th record in the past 10 days, while the European stocks saw little change after the benchmark stock Europe 600 index yesterday extended its highest level since June 2008. The Japanese shares futures were up after the benchmark US equity index extended a record high. Gold demand dropped 13% to the lowest in 9 years in the first quarter as record exchange traded product, adding to signs that investment demand is waning while the US equities rallied to records. Gold for immediate delivery was little changed. The euro weakened for 6th day against the US dollar, the longest losing in a year, before a report that economists said will confirm consumer price inflation in the region was the slowest in 3 years in April. The 17-nation currency approached a 6-week low, and speculation the European Central Bank will have to ease monetary policy further after data yesterday showed the euro area economy shrank for a record 6th quarter. With this, we end our news for today. For more details about Syria and the region and to view this bulletin again, you can always visit our website in English, syriaonline.sy. Thank you for watching.